All right, so today, if you have questions about SEO, we're going to answer a couple of the basic ones. Plus, I'm going to show you what to do when your Google AdWords campaign just isn't converting. This is Mosier Talks, episode 6. See you in a minute. I'm going to start out this episode by talking about 3 of the most misunderstood letters in the English language, at least in my world anyway. It's called SEO, Search Engine Optimization. Have you ever heard of it? We get asked about it all the time, obviously being an internet marketing company, and we seem to get the same questions over and over. So I just want to address a couple of them here. And the first one we always get is, how long is it going to take for me to get on the first page of Google? The common response to this question that we usually give people is, it depends. There's a lot of factors that go into whether or not you're going to rank on the first page of Google, and some of them are within your control and some of them aren't. What I found interesting is a company called Ahrefs. It's a company that publishes a tool that we use here at MosierData. They did an actual study, and I want to go over what some of the results of that study are. Basically, what they did is they took about 200 million pages on the internet and determined, what ranks, what doesn't, and they came up with some pretty interesting findings. One of them is that only 22% of the pages that currently rank in the top 10 of Google have been created within the last year. So only about 5.7% of the pages that are on the first page of Google were created within 1 year. Obviously, there are some compensating factors in there, your domain rank and page rank and things like that, that's part of Google's secret sauce that nobody's ever going to explain to you. But 5.7% is a pretty small number. So with that 5.7%, it's saying that the majority of them managed to achieve in approximately 61 to 182 days. So I guess to answer the question, you'll never get on the top 10 of Google in under 60 days. It's just an unrealistic expectation. I can't actually say never, because never is a long time, and somebody out there is going to be bound to prove me wrong. But 182 days, so that's about 6 months. That's about reasonable. And what it did say is that those numbers are from that 5.7% that actually make it. 94.3% of the pages that do get created and are submitted to Google don't rank within a year. That's an important thing to know. Can hiring somebody like us help? Yes. Can we guarantee we can help? Can we guarantee we can get you on page 1? No. Nobody can. There's only really one way to guarantee that we can get you on the first page of Google, and that's to pay to be there. And that's going to be a topic that I touch on here in just a second. And actually, interestingly enough, that's our second question. That what I was going to answer is, can you guarantee my website will achieve a #1 ranking in Google? The answer is no, nobody can. So the second thing I wanted to talk about today is how to diagnose. A lot of people come to us because we do AdWords management. We're a Google partner, as you probably heard me say many, many times on this podcast. A lot of people come to us and say, listen, I tried this Google AdWords thing and I spent a lot of money and nothing really ever happened to it. And I figured I would address that because that's something that we get quite a bit. Usually, if you spend a lot of money on Google and nothing happens, I can break it down into one of 4 things. So the first one of those 4 things is going to be your offer. And by offer, I mean pretty much anything that you're trying to drive traffic to. It could be a blog post, it could be a social media update, it could be a case study, a survey, anything that you're trying to drive traffic to. If your offer isn't good, then nobody's going to want to click on it. I mean, if you are advertising a free blue slushy, and everybody in your targeting group is diabetic, then who's going to buy it? Who's going to want it? Who's going to click on it? So that kind of brings me into the second point that I wanted to make is your targeting. Because if you're targeting the wrong people, then you might as well just be, lighting your money on fire rather than giving it to Google, because at least then you'd get some satisfaction out of it. I'll put it this way. It doesn't matter if you have the best offer. It doesn't matter if you have the best marketing message. It doesn't matter if you have the best product or service. If you put it in front of the wrong people, then nobody's going to know it's there. So basically, if you have an offer that you're going after a target audience, make sure that that target audience is specific. For instance, if you are targeting people that are interested in a certain make or model of an automobile, make sure that you're putting that automobile in front of them. Don't just say, hey, we've got lots of cars. Say, hey, we've got that 65 Chevy convertible that you're looking for. Does that make sense? Another thing when it comes to targeting, and I've talked about this on previous episodes of the podcast here, is that you really need to know your target audience, and you really need to know your buyer. One of the tools that we published in a previous episode, and I'll put a link to it here at the bottom of this video as well, is a persona worksheet. So we can show you how to laser focus target your ideal customer. You can build a profile of them. That way you understand everything about them. What's their job? What are their challenges? What are their pain points? How much money do they have to spend? That's always an important one. Anyway, that worksheet is down here. I'm not going to go back over it again. I still might, in a future episode, show you guys how to fill it out. But that'll really help you zero in on the targeting aspect of your campaigns. The third thing that could be the culprit in your advertising is your actual ad copy or the creative itself. If you're talking your display network where you're doing banner ads and things like that, it could be the banner ad just doesn't appeal to people. It's not standing out. It's not grabbing attention. Same thing with your ad copy. If you're doing traditional Google AdWords and your ad copy is boring and it doesn't call out to the user, then they're very likely not going to click. One of the strategies that we like to use in pretty much any type of advertising that we do here internally and that we do for clients is to find a pain point. Find something that your ideal customer is struggling with and then present the solution to them. Almost every time, that is the formula that gets your ad clicked. Now, how you do that is going to depend on exactly where you're advertising. You do it differently on Facebook than you do on Google AdWords and text ads. You do it different on the display network than you do on YouTube. So while the delivery mechanism might change, the simple formula behind it of solving a problem is always, always, always a solid strategy. And the fourth or final tip that I'll give you in troubleshooting an ad campaign is congruency. And what I mean by that is that when somebody goes and they search for something and your ad comes up and they click on it, where they land needs to be congruent with what they clicked on. It needs to be consistent with what they clicked on. Because if somebody's clicking on a 65 Mustang, and I'll go back to that example, somebody's clicking on a 65 Mustang and they go to the homepage of your website where it's all about every type of car, well, you just wasted money on having them click there. But if they're interested in a 65 Mustang and you go to the page that has that specific car for sale, then your ad is congruent with what they clicked on. What they expected to be there is actually there, and chances are they're not going to bounce, and they're going to spend a little bit of time on the page trying to analyze what you got going on there. That's actually one of the biggest mistakes that I see people make with Google AdWords all the time, is they send traffic to the home page of their website. Anytime you're doing any kind of digital advertising, you should have an offer, unless it's just a branding campaign. If you're just trying to brand yourself, then homepage is fine. But if you're trying to generate leads, or you're trying to get somebody to perform an action or buy something or do something, then you need to drive that person specifically to that page where that offer is, that tells them exactly what you want them to do or exactly what they want to buy, and that is the only way to really have a converting campaign. So anyway, that's all the time that we have for today. I've been out on vacation, actually a honeymoon, I'll be more specific. So I'm a little rusty at this. I'll get better next week. Until then, take care and send any questions you want over and I'll make sure and address them. Thanks. The first thing is going to be about your, I struggle with this, see?
I'm trying not to even move, just...
No, it's not you, it's just me, because I've got, my mind goes like 5 million miles an hour, and I tend to try and put more out of my mouth than I'm prepared to say. Alex knows about that. Sorry. So, obviously there's some